Hi everyone, in this video we are going to be talking about the formation of a cloud, and we will go through all the steps and draw a picture of what happens when a cloud forms. So we know that the water cycle is driven by heat from the sun. Without the sun providing energy to the earth, there would be no heat to allow all of the different processes of the water cycle to occur. So already drawn on your picture, we have our sun, and then we have some arrows showing the sun heating up the surface of the earth. So the sun is going to heat up the surface of the earth, and when it does that, it's going to heat up the water on the earth. We're going to have some water, maybe some water is in a pool of a puddle on the ground, it might be in an ocean, it might be in a lake, and that water will start to evaporate. So we're going to start by having warm water, and that will evaporate, and then it's going to enter the air and be water vapor. So near the ground, we're going to draw a parcel of air, or just like if you can imagine a small container of air. And when that air is near the ground, we have warm, moist air. So this bubble is a bubble of really warm, really moist, which means there's a lot of water vapor in it, air. And that warm, moist air is not going to stay near the ground. That warm, moist air is going to start to rise up because it is less dense. So that warm, moist air is going to start to rise in the atmosphere. So the air is going to rise. And when it rises, it's going to start to expand. And that's part of our recipe for a cloud. So our warm, moist air will rise, and as it rises, it's going to start to expand. So we want to show that our container of air got bigger. Expanding means to get bigger. So the warm, moist air rises and it gets bigger. It gets bigger. We call that expansion. So the air rose and then it expands. And when it expands, the temperature changes. The air starts to get colder. So we say it expands and cools. Okay, so we can add a little bit more detail if we want. We could just say that it cools, or we could say it cools to the dew point. And once it cools to the dew point, well, that's when we can start to have condensation occurring. So that air is rising, it's getting bigger, it's expanding and cooling, and then we start to have condensation, which is when we have liquid droplets of water starting to form. So again, condensation is when we go from a gas to a liquid. So we are going to have liquid drops forming. Okay, and the important thing to remember is that clouds are not made of gas. Clouds are made of these liquid or ice crystals from the process of condensation. So because condensation finally happened, now we have those liquid drops of water or those ice crystals in the atmosphere, and they start to gather into big clumps and gather together, and that's when we get our clouds. So we could draw some clouds in. And don't forget, inside of our clouds, we have liquid water or ice crystals that formed as a result of this condensation from the air expanding and cooling. And that's how we get a cloud to form. So just to review, you don't have to highlight. We have water on the surface of the earth. It evaporates into the air, and it's contained in the air in warm, moist air, warm air that has a lot of water vapor, and that warm air starts to rise. And as it rises, it expands and cools. After it cools, the water will then condense. The water will change from a water vapor into a liquid. And that liquid water gathers together so that we get our clouds.